My name is Nikita. It was a very nice introduction. I put the European Film Academy in the end because it really sounds amazing on the CV. But yeah, I'm just a member and I pay a membership fee. It's not really as exciting as it sounds on the CV. Just wanted to say that because I heard it. Thank you. I'm very, very happy to be here. We had a really nice dinner yesterday with the speakers and really nice discussions. I felt that I didn't really have a lot to say to the bigger problems in the world because I'm an animator, I'm a filmmaker, I'm doing short films. As you can see, the project is called Ugly. That's kind of the project that I've been working on for the last nearly 10 years, I think, or 9 or 8 years, so quite a long time. And it consisted of 2 short films, Ugly and Fest, and a couple of experiments, and I'm going to show you a couple. I'm not sure, was there an installation of some of the parking lot outside? I didn't see that. Peter? Peter, where's Peter? Is it displayed outside, the parking lot? Yeah, because it has actually a connection to Wiesbaden. You can see, well, it's not Wiesbaden, but it's Hessen. It's the Euro Palace in Mainz Castel. I'm not sure if it still exists. And I have no idea how many people of you are actually from Wiesbaden. How many are from Wiesbaden? 20 people. Okay. Okay, I'm from Mainz, and right now I'm staying at my parents in Mainz because they would be really angry with me if I would stay in the hotel here in Wiesbaden. But okay, to the actual presentation, I'm doing short films and experiments. They're a bit chaotic, so you see things break. We did a lot of kind of unnecessary things like. When doing the short film, you actually tried to do a short film to tell a story of a film, and we just messed around and connected PlayStation controllers to 3D software, which you normally don't do, and yeah, just mess around. Basically, that was the whole approach, and that's why it also, the whole project and all the films took so long. I'm going to show you the trailer for Ugly, the very first film that was done in 2017.
In a world of sunsets and decay, in a time where being different means trouble, a man and a cat are destined for a change. Based on a true story from the internet, featuring aerial footage, gripping action, and emotions, all performed by computer-simulated puppets, comes a story of true beauty.
So that was the trailer. Thank you very much. That was the trailer for the very first kind of short film that I made out of university. I'm going to leave the screen right now as black because that was the kind of feeling that I had when I was coming out of university. I was kind of hoping that, because I was studying at a kind of very prestigious university, the Royal College of Art in London, and when you kind of finish that university, at least in my view, I was thinking I'm going to get jobs. I'm going to get money and just going to be safe for forever. Which, as you all know, doesn't really happen. So I had to kind of leave London to sustain myself, and also because my film from university, my graduation film, was screened at 2 big festivals, which was really nice. I felt like I needed to do another short film, so that was my idea and kind of goal in the next, which turned out to be years, to make another short film. And I was looking for an idea for a short film for a really long time. I don't know how many of you actually look for ideas or have like the urge to find an idea to something. It's a big struggle. And to me, I think it literally took 3 years until I came up with the idea for a short film. And I was looking for an idea eventually on this website, because I went to Google and I was so desperate in the situation that I typed in inspiration. And it's not a joke, it's really how it happened. And then I found this story, which is called Ugly the Cat. And yeah, it was a short story, so it was good for a short film. It was a story about an ugly cat. It was very emotional. It was, it had a message, a very strong message, but back then, at that time when I was doing it, when I was kind of reading it, it was very funny to me, the whole story, because it was so emotional that it kind of didn't touch me. It actually provoked the opposite. So I wanted to do a comedy about an ugly cat with the most ugly way possible. So that was the kind of first approach to the idea. Now looking back, I think it's not the best approach, definitely not. But I went with it because maybe I was too desperate, and maybe sometimes you just have to start with something. So I went on and researched ugly things. And one thing that I found is this video on YouTube.
Confessiamo la gloria di Dio. Ave Dio tre volte santo, e la lode per sempre. Amen. A te, Cristo Signore, ogni onore e gloria. Amen. A te, Spirito Santo, l'inno dell'universo.
Yeah, yeah. I first saw it in, I think, 2013. The guy, I think, or the girl, Produkto NZ, they did it in 2011, and I didn't really know I didn't have an idea what to think of it, except that it really triggered me somehow, and it was, to me, it felt like a work of genius, because it was so, it was very ambiguous. Because I didn't really know if the person who made it, if they really meant it, or they just couldn't do it better. But I was thinking that they actually meant it, and in that sense, it was actually a work of genius. And that's what I wanted to kind of try with what I want to do. I wanted to kind of strive towards that ambiguity, if you want to call it that. So I was researching more ugly things, especially in the real world, and many of these things are kind of connected to my personal past. So, for example, this trouser was back in the 90s when I was growing up. It was very fashionable. Then it turned ugly, and then it became fashionable again, like 5 years ago or 6 years ago, and now I don't know, it's ugly again. Then you have the Fiat Multipla, which will always be an icon of like ugly cars. I think there was a reference to it, I think, even in The Simpsons. And in the architecture in Berlin, and I come from Russia back in the day. We immigrated in the 1992. And to me, these kind of houses, they kind of represented my home back then. And they were also being constructed in East Germany and in Eastern Europe. So that kind of block architecture, it is kind of ugly, but to me, it kind of felt like home and represented, in a way, beauty, maybe with this rainbow on it also. So I guess what I want to say with this is that that beauty and ugliness are kind of very also ambiguous. They can be both. They can be, depending on how you look at them, they can be beautiful or ugly, or depending on time, they can change. Other things that I found was kind of in computer games, glitches. There's this guy celebrating the goal. And yeah, I think Google Maps fixed that bug back then, but it kind of used to be messed up a bit. Other things that I felt was ugly was motivational posters. And I think in that time, when I was looking at these posters, I felt what was actually wrong with my perception of the story, of how I looked at Ugly, the cat, the story. Because actually the story is about a cat who is ugly and is being mistreated by its whole neighborhood. But because it's so emotional, so overly emotional, and trying to kind of get the tear out of you while you read it, it felt very funny to me. But then if I think about it again, it's a very important message, and it gets lost on me. And that's the same thing with these posters, where you kind of have these big messages which all have a true meaning, but I'm laughing at them, and it just feels wrong. So I wanted to kind of make a film which is saying the message in maybe a cheesy way, but still speaks to me. It felt like a challenge that is very difficult to kind of take on, but it's nice to have challenges sometimes. And here, another inspiration, this is my niece's drawings. Yeah, I love drawings by kids, because they do things for the very first time, and they're very surprising. They're surprising to themselves, they're surprising to everyone around them, and it's just completely unpredictable. And that unpredictability became a big part of how I work, because to me, the work process is the most important, because if you don't really enjoy the work, the process of working, then it becomes boring. And so I always want to surprise myself when doing things. And that's why this is kind of the ugly figure that came to be at some point. I was maybe trying to model it like a kid, like you don't know how the proportions are, and maybe sometimes you can do things with your left hand when you draw, kind of like that. Maybe not literally taking the mouse into the left hand, but kind of imagining for yourself, like, if I want to do the head like this, let's take the second thought, or no thoughts at all, and just do it like that without really thinking. So there was that. And then the texturing was also kind of messed up, because it works from one side. It's using camera projection mapping, that's the technique. But it really doesn't work from the other side, because it's all just projected like that. And I kind of see it, the filmmaking like that, because you always see things from one certain perspective, but the other perspective is lost. And I wanted to show that perspective also. Maybe it's just a bunch of kind of things that I put into the work, but to justify it in the end, maybe it's just a kind of lazy way of working, but I kind of like it. And that became part of it in the end. And I think the right one is kind of similar. It's just a very zoomy projection mapping onto the playground scene in Ugly. And yeah, I'm going to show you now. This is dynamic. I call it dynamic animation, the kind of approach to animation that I'm doing. It's maybe kind of interactive approach. And I've seen people do it before. For example, Jonathan Vinel, who also finished the film in 2017, he did a film in the GTA 5 computer game. So he went into the game, he put his cameras there, he was kind of able to do that because the game allowed it, and he created a whole film, very emotional, kind of really nice film about his friends, which is called The Martin Cries. And another guy, David O'Reilly, he was a big inspiration for me for many years, and he made a game called Everything and made then a trailer for the game, which lasted about 10 minutes, which was a short film. And but the kind of revolutionary thing was that he took his own game, which he made with his programmer, and made kind of an interactive experience turned into a film. So it was just a kind of different approach to making films. It was an interactive kind of playing with the computer. My approach to kind of dynamic animation, interactive animation, was after watching this kind of videos on YouTube. And I was thinking that it looks very nice and looks very easy because you just let the character drop and it just happens, and you save yourself a bunch of animating, because normally when you animate, you do it like this. That's me kind of animating with my ugly characters. You see the keyframes there in the bottom, and he has to pick up that cube, and that's me kind of animating it for like, I don't know, probably 1 hour or so. So it took ages, and it still looks not good. And yeah, if you want to reach that kind of quality of Pixar or Disney, or at least something that you can be proud of and show to your friends, then that's not really a very kind of just a good way of working. And so I was trying that kind of ragdoll thing. That was the first kind of fall, and what I discovered about myself, I kind of hated it, but also I liked it. Because in the end, I'm kind of telling an ugly story, and it kind of looked a bit ugly. At the same time, it looked realistic and also saved me some time. Which I thought, but it turned out to be not true, because the film took 4 years to make. I was planning to do it in 4 months. And that's because you actually have to kind of solve these problems. When this character has to pick up that cube, and you cannot really put the keyframes there, you kind of have to solve the whole thing in one go. You cannot go just in between and tell him you have to be there at that time and there at that time, and then you do this. You have to actually tell him, do the whole thing in just one rush. And the solution to that was to kind of create marionettes. And this is a marionette. So you have these kind of physical bodies which react to gravity and physics, and when you press play, then it kind of hangs there, and it's connected with these springs. And then when you move these kind of colored things, these are the controllers, then it moves. And that's how I wanted to animate the whole film. And then at some point I figured out how to do walk cycles. And the cool thing is you can actually just make, with one click, you make him into like a drunk person. So it's like, and a happy drunk person. But you will have problems sometimes, because you, when they run around like that, and you have to stop them, they're gonna start, because they're marionettes, they're gonna start swinging. So you had to come up with some solutions, like making a cube there, and make it invisible in the final film. So that comes again to the kind of idea of filmmaking, because filmmaking is faking things. It's about kind of telling a story and making things invisible that are not related to the story. And yeah, we have a playground here. That's the cool thing also with these characters, because they are kind of interacting, and they're friends. And you, as a filmmaker, you are like you suddenly not feel like the animator that you're supposed to be, who kind of is in his animator cave, but you feel like a real director on the film set. So you tell them, yeah, you guys, you slide down the slide and you behave kind of realistically. Like that guy who's on the swing, he's actually looking really nice. But then again, you kind of run into problems. Like here is another playground scene, which is kind of also inspired by YouTube. The kind of the mechanism here is you have a motor in the moped. It drives the wheel drives the carousel drives the character in the carousel, like in real life. But the thing is that the cloth, because I didn't know the mechanics of simulating cloth back then, so the sampling was very low and the cloth started exploding. And so glitch, or these kind of explosions or bugs, whatever, became not maybe a problem, but also a feature of the whole thing. And you needed to think for yourself, do these bugs or glitches or mistakes kind of contribute to the story that you want to tell? And sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't. Yeah, because simulation is very random. Here, for example, this is a simulation, the same inputs for each of these characters. They all have a drone, and the drone is using aerodynamics and motors. But somehow the computer, because the browser was running in the background or something happened, each of them is a bit different. And it's not really explainable why is one of them doing a different thing than the other. So yeah, but this guy, he appeared in the film Fest. Yeah, Fest is inspired by a couple of things. It's inspired by Thunderdome 97. You can Google it. It's the rave culture from the 90s, which I also experienced as a kid, which originated in Rotterdam and then kind of also swapped over to Germany. And the other thing that you see there, it's the Russian bungee, which to me right now, I did the film in 2018, and to me right now it kind of stands for a lot of things. It stood back then for a lot of things, and now it stands for even more what's happening in Russia. And it's just messed up. The other thing, which is also a sad thing, is the suicide pigeon. I'm being very cynical right now, but this didn't really inspire the film. Actually, somebody came to me after the film and told me, "Do you know the suicide pigeon? It's kind of like in your film." And I Googled it, and it kind of back inspired the film. So yeah, that was Fest. Anyway, Fest is about, to me, the film is about kind of freedom of many things, freedom of these people kind of trying to be free in a country that is not, and doing it in a very kind of crazy way where you don't really know if you're supposed to be kind of celebrating it or not. And then free in a sense of Thunderdome, where you kind of just let go in a club in the purest sense. Not sure if the suicide pigeon, she's fine, I think. Also free. Yeah, that was the first bungee test that I did. Yeah, he was not connected, so that was a good test. And the thing about simulating is what is the problem sometimes, because in Fest there is a lot of things happen. There is the dancing people downstairs, there's the barbecue people, there is the bungee group, and they all kind of have to simulate. And it's very difficult for the computer to solve, so I had to kind of put them into groups. I'm not going to go too much into the technicals here. I'm just going to show you the barbecue guys, which were simulated together with the bungee people. Thank you. That is the beauty of simulating, because I could never come up with these kind of narratives. Like, I don't know, I simulated it about 100 times. I just knew that the bungee girl has to collide with the barbecue people, and then the barbecue people have to just be friendly with each other, give each other sausages. But I didn't know that the sausage will be stuck in the hand, and that it's nice to be working in that kind of way, because you are always kind of working with the computer. The computer is kind of your coworker, your friend, and gives you some feedback. And I think that's a nice way of looking at technology, not like your tool or your enemy, but maybe as some kind of equal, which is another topic which I will come to in a bit. But I'm gonna. Do we have time to see Fest for like 3 minutes? Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, the other thing is also, when I look at it, I've been looking at it 1,000 times already, and these characters, they actually do feel a bit like friends to me. It feels very strange to say that, but they actually do. And yeah, the next film that just finished, it's called Backflip. And I think it's just gonna start. I have 5 minutes left. I think I'm gonna make it. It's a film that's gonna screen in Oberhausen. If you're in Oberhausen, you can watch it there, or in Vienna soon, and I think also in Hamburg and Annecy. And it's inspired by also YouTube. and inspired by these people who all try to kind of learn a backflip. And I was looking at it, and I'm thinking it's a trick that I could never imagine myself doing, because you kind of have to jump backwards. You have to not close your eyes, but you kind of have to be at peace with the idea of kind of landing on your head, breaking your neck, and be in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. But these people, they still do it at home with their mattresses. And I was thinking, okay, I have to kind of make a film about it. And but before I make a film about it, I have to kind of try it myself. So I kind of tried it. This is me trying it. I think looking at it, I feel a bit like one of my own characters. At the same time, I broke my toe back then, so I didn't really make it. So that was the inspiration or the kind of idea for the next film. And I think what you saw there is kind of coming very close to also what Christian was talking about machine learning. So the next film that I'm doing is done with machine learning. And machine learning, I'm not going to explain to you what's happening. You have the different generations there learning kind of from their mistakes, and then this guy trying to kind of survive the parkour. And we use the system by Jason Pang, who wrote a paper on deep mimic, which is learning from YouTube videos, which is kind of analyzing the YouTube videos, their movements, and then trying to apply that or teach that movement to a physically based character. And then that physical character can apply that movement, for example, to a different environment, like they're on the different surface, or also sometimes it doesn't work, like with a Gangnam style dance, it's a bit too complicated. So that's what we kind of tried to do. I was working with Max Schneider, who is a programmer, and that was kind of our first experiments. You see, this is Jason Pang's system, and this is our system when we build it. And somehow that character also was a bit afraid to do a backflip. What we tried first, because it's a film to kind of do many things, we needed also to to figure out how to do other things like standing up and balancing. And so the first task, this is my avatar kind of trying to do. I think we lost it. I'm going to try and restart. Sometimes it happens. Okay. So he's the task you can see there in the bottom. The task is to get up while facing up. And the iteration is the learning time that is being used for the simulation right now. So right now he tried 550 times or something like that to kind of do the standing up. Now we increase He's learning. Now he's facing down. It's a different task. He made it. See, it's always a struggle, and to me, it's always a struggle to kind of find new ways of how to make things. And this was how the film was being made. Max, he gave me this kind of setup where I would have to type into command prompt to give commandos to the character, and then it would just spit out these kind of alembics there on the left, on the right, in the Cinema 4D file. And this is my apartment in Leipzig, where he was practicing. I'm gonna show you. This is me kind of recording it here. I'm gonna rush a bit because we don't have much time. This is me basically meeting my digital twin. And
hi everyone, Nikita here.
In this
video, my avatar learns a backflip.
Do I need to pause it? Anyway, this is a voice cloning algorithm, which is called Descript. You can basically go there, read your text for like 15 minutes, and then it's gonna clone your voice. This is what we used to do the voice. How much time do we have left? No time at all. I'm gonna not show you anything else because you can find it all in the end. This is
Nikita here.
Not gonna explain that. This is me jumping in a room. I'm gonna show 10 seconds of it. He's gonna struggle now for a long time, so I'm gonna skip it. Okay, that's enough. And this is us recording the sounds. This is the last slide. This is the magic of the sound. Okay, that's it. I think what I learned, just generally what I learned from working for 8 years on these projects was to that it's very important to just do things. It sounds really obvious, but we forget these things many times. To do things that we love, to kind of free time for it. I think that's very important because we always end up struggling because of various things and not really focusing on what we really want to do. And also to experiment a lot, to kind of do things that are uncomfortable in the beginning, but then really force ourselves to really go for it. That's a very big thing for me. And you don't really need a very strong idea to start sometimes. You just start with something and just go with it. And then because the process is actually very helpful, you have to trust it. And that's my motivational talk in the end.
Wow. Thank you. Well, thank you, Nikita. It's still going on over here.
Yeah,
so it's, I told Christian Leclerc that I felt pity for this computer trying to find out who he is. And I feel pity with this character. What is it with you people that you make computers and software feel bad? But yeah, great work. Did Pixar already call, or?
I'm waiting.
But Netflix actually has some pretty interesting material up there. This is something that I could expect, at least in some markets, to happen on Netflix. Do you have any perspective there?
I think they slowly it's getting there. Some of my friends actually work on Netflix and they do really cool stuff there. They do like 3D puppet animation, which is very kind of non-conventional, which is really nice. So I think it was just a time when I was doing Ugly that was really intense, that people were trying to do really nice, super slick computer graphics.
Yeah.
I think now it's changing, and I think it goes with just people being able to have 3D software at home for free and just experiment, not having to deal with a big big animation team.
Yeah. And there were many moments like this in the development of computers where an interesting community gets a grip on hardware and software to work with it. Fragen aus dem Publikum. Noch niemand? Dann gucke ich nochmal, ob ich einen habe. Ja, did you, well, this was a question I prepared before I've seen the last movie, and I wanted to ask if you ever heard yourself trying to create this anime, but you brilliantly answered that. How do you finance the work? Because obviously this is nothing that works for commercial work.
Yeah, Ugly was financed. I had a few. We have in Germany this credit point system by the German Film Fund, FFA.
Yeah.
Which gives you some credit points based on festival appearances of your previous films. So I was using, I think, 10 points back then was the minimum that you can get for just getting funds. And then we did a Kickstarter back then. I think right now Kickstarter is not really going to work. It could, but difficult. And now with these films, I do it also with film funding, which is very lucky kind of here in Germany because some countries are not really getting it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, this is about timing. Thanks. Any questions from the...
No question.
Timing. What's time? We learned today. Any more questions from the... Here's one. Oh, sorry. In the first row. How nice.
Yeah. So I thought it was super interesting because all day we spoke about like rethinking solutions and rethinking perceptions and stuff. And on your journey, I thought it was super interesting that it's the perception of beauty. That you called your film Ugly, but I'm interested in whether you think what you'd call ugly is your beauty, or has something changed throughout the 7 years or 4 years you worked on the film?
Yeah, definitely. because yeah, to me, all the things that I do them with a lot of love, and even when I didn't really appreciate the message in the ugly story, I kind of got, it grew very much on me, and I think even if the things look sort of ugly, and even if I call them ugly, I don't really mean it. To me, they're beautiful, and I'm sounding very cheesy right now, but yeah, no, that's true, because that's a perception thing, and it changes also. Sometimes what we find beautiful or ugly back then, we suddenly change that perception later, and we should just be open to these kind of changes.
Thank you. There's one more question over here.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a remark about beauty and ugliness, because I really feel that this is what I consider beauty. And when we saw what Christian presented to us, which he called beautiful, I always felt it was super kitschy and gave me no sense of beauty or longing to be there or to stay there in any way. It's a kind of a kitsch aesthetics that we've seen all over the place. And what you're doing here is very human beauty of the way we are. And this is rather a place I would like to be than in this kind of metaverse, super kitsch, motivation poster nonsense. So thank you very much for this very beautiful ugliness.
Thank you. Can I say one little thing? Just one little thing?
Sorry?
Can I say one little thing? It's about the ugly and beautiful. Maybe the ugly thing is also, it's about character and about kind of something personal. Because beautiful things sometimes are impersonal, they're very homogeneous. And when you do something ugly, it has something unique and character, and that's why we kind of feel very close to it.
Okay, if there are no more questions from the audience, I'd say thanks a lot. We have a few clips running from Nikita in the back in the exhibition. And there's also another film by Jennifer Kolpe called Milk, which also someone... This is the other Nordkurve here. I don't know what that fan club is about. But it's a very great movie. It has also won a few awards. So have a look at this.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks a lot for being so disrupting and so different with what you do. Lots of success with the work. Thank you, Nikita Diakur.
Thank you.